Hi and welcome to the first video. The first thing we're going to do is learn how to install the Unity Toolkit. I've already got the Legends of Aria Toolkit added, but what you need to do is create a new 3D project. Make sure you are using Unity version 2020.1.17 F1 here for your project. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to go to Assets, and you're going to come down to your Import Package, Custom Package, and go to your Download section where you downloaded your Unity 2020 Toolkit, and then just hit Open, and then it'll take a minute for it to load, and it'll ask you if you want to import everything. Just select Import. It'll take a little bit, and then you'll be where we're at right now. Currently, I added a skybox to this scene to make it all black, but yours will look a little bit different. So pretty much at this point, we're not quite done yet. What we need to do is we need to set up the modding environment. So when you get the LOA toolkit, you'll want to go to your settings here. And when it first loads up, you'll see there's nothing listed here. Go ahead and close it out. It's a little bit weird. And so yours is going to be empty, and you see where I have this example here, this Dungeons of Aria build base. This is the base directory for my cluster server. And right here, or your standalone, whatever folder you're working in for your mod. And then you need to have the mods path folder, and that's just your server folder / mods. And then you're going to have to hit save at that point, and then close it. And then you're going to have to open it one more time, and then you should be able to see your mod listed. Usually you have the default mod, test server, things like that. So what I would do is, if you do not have a mod, like if I went to my folder here just to show you really quick, here's my mods folder. So if you do not have a mod name, go ahead and just create a new folder and give it a mod name, and then close this out, and then you'll just load it back up again. I know it's a little bit crazy, but this thing's just slightly buggy. And then you should be able to find it on this drop down list, that folder that you made, if you don't already have a mod folder. So at this point you hit save, you close it out, and that means that if we take a look here in my Dungeons of Aria, I have a map data folder, and you'll see that I have New Celidor and Row Worlds, and there's no other map here yet. That's because we haven't created a new map. But when we create a new map here in this video, you'll see that that we'll get some stuff generated here really quick. So the next thing, just to get it built and get it going, we're just gonna simply create a new terrain, because we are well, we're actually in the dungeon. Yeah, so let's just go to the Legends of Aria toolkit, double click there, go to the default, prefabs, world objects, let's see here, fixtures, and let's go to catacombs, and then you'll see that we got tile sets and tile set stone. Alright, that's a long dig through this stuff, but if you'll click this right here, you'll notice that we have a client ID of 752. So basically I'm just going to create a really quick dungeon setup. So let's first let's add a light. Well, sorry, we got to create, I've already got this map set up. We didn't go through that process here. Let's create a new map. So let's go down to custom assets, create custom map. And let's make this a dungeon map. Hit create map. It's going to ask us, where do we want to save our information. So I always just choose the scenes because it's the default folder that you get, and you'll see that you have Dungeons of Aria in your sample scene here, and we're just going to call this First Dungeon. Okay, so this is the name of the scene. And when you create that, you can go ahead and close this, and in the hierarchy here, you'll see in the first dungeon we have the default dungeon camera, and then we also have the map data. So what map data does is that when you click this build button, it'll build your permanent objects, your static collisions over here, it'll take care of the bundle version, things like that. So basically, the next thing we want to do is let's get into it. Let's build a really quick dungeon. I'm not going to worry about walls. I'm not going to worry about anything. We're just going to drag one of those tiles to the scene, and I'm going to put it at 0, 0, 0. All right, and there's our dungeon tile. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in on it. We can't see much of it because this is dark. It's a dungeon. There's no lights in the scene. So the first thing I like to do when developing a dungeon is go and create a light, and we'll just do directional light, and then that'll light up this. We'll just pull this over here. We'll set the intensity of this down to like 0.5, and now we have a light source for our dungeon. Okay, so this right here, the center part of this is 0, 0, 0. So if I was to build this map and load it, I would appear right here, and you could run off the tile until you fell down. So we'll show you what this looks like in game, but this is just, now we got one tile down. These are 15 by 15, so it's really easy to manipulate them how you want them to work. I'm gonna go ahead and let's just find this corner piece here, and I'm gonna drag that to the scene. I'll just put it at 0, 0, 0. All right, and then we'll just we'll drag this over, and looks like we just set this to 15, and we'll set that to 0. And then if we scroll in, you'll see how this becomes seamless, and sometimes there's slight issues, but I don't see any or a lot with this tile set. That's why I prefer to use the stone tile set. I really don't have a lot of issues with that. So right now we have this little dungeon here. It's not, you know, super. There's nothing fancy about it. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to grab another tile. We'll throw it in here. Let's move it over here. I'll set that to 0. And then this is going to be like, what, negative 15. And this looks like if I set it to 0, and it's got a door. So I think if we just rotate this 180 degrees, then we'll be able to we'll be able to run through the door here in the sample. So right now this dungeon is not even looking good, right? But it is a dungeon. You just have to take the time to put the pieces together. So let's say you're done, right? And we're done and we are ready to build this information, the map information. Then all we have to do is, the first thing I do is, if you want to keep it dark, I always take my directional light and I will turn it off. That way it's not active with the build. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the map data here, and you will see that there is a build button here. So if I was to hit build, which we'll do here, it says no permit data was found for the scene. Do you want to start? Yes. This is the first time running, so it's going to make 3 different files. If we give it a second here, it's building the asset bundles, and the asset bundles are all right here in your right there with your assets here. You'll see that we built the FirstDungeon asset. And then if we go to our folder here again, you'll see in the Dungeons of Aria map data, now we got our FirstDungeon information, and we get the world data and the permanent objects. So again, if we just open up the permanent objects and take a peek, you'll see that there's our item IDs. These are the locations in which they are, their rotations and scales and everything, right? So that's pretty much what the build button does. The next step that you need to do is simply point to that asset bundle in your cluster config and create the server index in your cluster config, and then you should be able to just log into what we just made, just to see what it looks like, right? So really the development process for making simple maps is really not that difficult. It's just knowing what this stuff means, right? I showed you where to find some dungeon tiles. There's all kinds of things. Just make sure when you're placing things that you see as assets, make sure they got a client object script. Make sure they're a client ID. Otherwise, you're not going to get certain information collisions and things like that unless you manually set them up, and that's just another set of videos. So really, at this point, that's it. That's all it takes to build a map and get all the information set up. And now all it is a matter of creating scenes for new maps. So suggestively, R0, map maker guy in our community, he stated that like a 1024 chunks pretty good. So what I would do is I would think about when you're making dungeons, always leave room in that map to put more dungeons in, and you can always put a region around it. It'll add the name, and this helps out with loading and things like that, transferring between maps and things like that while the loading stuff. So anyways, yeah, that's about the best introductory video I think I can make to just show you the very basics. So yeah, I think that's it. If you have any more questions, we can go over topics. I just need those questions from you guys. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope this video was helpful.